fighting my urges to just chuck this in the actual trash can. So we're gonna set that aside for right now. Hello and welcome to Make a Little. My name is Taylor and I'm a Seattle-based fiber artist on a quest to make a little art every day. And this week we're gonna do something kind of interesting. I am leaning into exercising my free will, and I figured I would just kind of take you along for what is going to be a very intentionally crafty week. As you can maybe see, I am currently in my kitchen, and that is because we are kicking things off with a bang. Something that I have always wanted to do and never really found the time or motivation to do is make air dry clay. Apparently it's very simple, at least that's what the internet says. We will find out together whether or not that is true for me, but I have all the ingredients here and I'm gonna try to make some. Now, you might ask, if I'm making air dry clay, what am I doing with it? And that is something I'm very excited about. If you have been following along, you know that I've been on a search for a row counter and I really have not been able to find one that I like. So I am going to try to make one. Am I a little worried that air dry clay might not be strong enough to sit on my projects? Yes, I am, but I'm gonna try it anyways. The ingredients of air dry clay apparently are very simple. Apparently it is just cornstarch, baking soda, and water. And we are going to cook it up here on my stove in this tiny little Dutch oven that I have. So let's get started. Okay, so that was extremely easy. Honestly, if I had small kids, I feel like this would be such an awesome like arts and craft to do with them. It was really satisfying for this to work up, but I think now this is ready. So the way I'm thinking about how I want to make this row counter is I want to have 10 little like beads, circles, medallions, whatever, that have 1 through 0 on them. I have some jump rings, so I'm hoping I'll just connect them up with some jump rings, and then I would really love to have some sort of like a little charm on the end. I also think I'm gonna have a lot left over, so kind of thinking through like what else I could do with this. Like, it's honestly a pretty large ball, so we'll see. So it's gonna take a while for that air dry clay to actually dry. So in the meantime, there is another couple of projects that I really want to get done that are also kind of in this creative vein. So the first one is that there's this really strange like hole cut in the wall in our living room that right now we keep a computer that is connected to the TV in. And my partner and I always look at it and really wish that there was something covering things. So we bought these little tension dowels and I thrifted this really interesting fabric, just like a couple bucks. And so I'm gonna try to make a little curtain that will kind of cover up that space. So I am not a very strong sewer. I have a Singer heavy duty that I got from Costco a while ago, but I think this should be within my wheelhouse. I am going to make a decision, I think, finally on the style of curtain that I would like to make, and I'll take you along. We'll get started. Okay, so I think I've measured it out and I have plenty of fabric, and I'm going to try to do just like the loop method, the curtain loop method, so the rod will kind of like live inside of it. I think that's probably the most aligned with my skill set because this fabric is a little bit odd. It's almost like it's been woven or something. So we're just gonna try to do that, and hopefully it works just fine. I've officially sewed 2, so I think that we're done. I don't know, I am such a junior sewer that like even this feels really exciting for me. So let's see, I have the tube here. In theory, I can just thread it through and I will have a curtain. Oh my god. Look at it! Okay, I'm actually really excited with that. I'm gonna go put it down. It's been a couple of days and I've let this stuff dry. Basically everything that wasn't actually the row counter itself cracked, but those were all for fun. So I'm not too bothered about it. This makes a ton of air dry clay, the recipe that I used. So I was just sort of like messing around with it to see what I could do with it. Some of these are probably just gonna get thrown away because they don't look very good. But some of them are kind of fun, just little forms. You can see I made a little sardine tin there. Cute. Luckily, the pieces that did not crack were the row counter itself, so I don't think there are any major cracks on any of the little pieces that I made. I'm recognizing that these are pretty big, but I think it will be all right. We're just gonna make do, and if not, maybe this will be a long-running series of me trying to figure out how to build this freaking row counter, but I have faith at this time. So I bought this stuff, not sponsored. This is like a primer. And so I'm gonna paint all of these pieces with primer and then let it dry again and then paint it again and then we'll glaze it. And then I think we're finally done with that part. So I'm gonna prime these real quick. So you might be asking yourself, what am I going to be doing with these? All the things that aren't the row counter, and the answer is I have no idea. I just figured because I made so much air dry clay, I should try to use it. When I was growing up, my mom used to make salt dough with us, and it kind of reminds me of that, although you actually bake salt dough. And I wonder if maybe salt dough will be my next attempt if my air dry clay row counter doesn't go so well. I also mentioned that one of these is a sardine can with some sardines in it and a little lid. And I would just like it to be known that I was a big tinned fish fan before the hype. It makes me extremely happy that the hype has happened because I love tinned fish so much. Although Fishwife is so overpriced, truly go to any Asian grocery store and you will find the best tinned fish of your life for significantly cheaper. I especially love sprats, and if they're in lemon, even better. But sardines are also very fun. Anchovies, I kind of don't think are very good to just eat on their own. They're much better on like a pizza. And then of course, one of the best ones, smoked mussels. Those are fantastic, and you can get those at Trader Joe's for like $4, so also much cheaper. back, and that means that I'm done painting them, and I gotta say, this almost made me scrap the entire video because I think they're so ugly. I think they look terrible. I don't know, I slept on it and thought maybe I would like them in the morning, and I don't really, but let me show you what it looks like and what we're maybe gonna try to do to get these salvageable. So first, the non-row counter stuff that I painted. Apparently I was thinking about Halloween, so we've got this little fall trinket dish, I guess, that I got a bunch of blue paint on, which is great. We have this sad looking little tomato motif. This, I had given up at this point. It's just a fish. I just put a fish on it because I was so tired. This really awful. I think this looks so bad. I was like really over it at this point. Somehow this kind of looks like an American flag, which was just like not the vibe. But there you go. I've got these little fish. They have little eyes. Yeah, I painted these with gouache because the internet told me that I could, and it definitely led to like a kind of patinaed sort of texture on everything. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but like there were little cracks in everything, which is fine. It looks a little rustic maybe, but was not really what I was expecting. We've got this thing that is literally just like for putting rings on or something. I don't know. I was really running out of ideas at some point. And then finally, we have the pieces of row counter. I made these in 3 colors. The 3 colors I chose seem to be the 3 paint colors that like do not evenly apply. So you can kind of see them. They look okay. I don't know, but I was looking around on the internet. Number one, I figured out that I probably didn't dry these properly, which is why there were a lot of cracks in them. I guess if you cover them with like a wet towel, that can kind of help dry consistently. So if I do this again, I'm probably gonna try that. But also, apparently, you can use paint pen on this. So I have these. I've had these forever. I just kind of collect art supplies like nobody's business. I'll show you. I was gonna title this video like exercising my free will to make art, and I think what it might actually have to be is exercising my free will to make bad art. I tried to do like one of those bead curtain things. I don't know if you've seen them. They're like very popular right now, especially in Korea, apparently. And I just used some beads that I just like had around, and they were all different sizes, so it looks horrifying. I'll put in a picture of it so that you can laugh at it too. It's just horrible, but that's kind of what it feels like. But apparently you can use paint pen on these. So I'm gonna see if I can kind of salvage this stuff and make it look a little prettier. Okay, I literally just shook that paint pen so hard that it got blue paint everywhere, including all over my hands. And then in this, and then I tried to wipe it off and wipe the fish completely off. So gouache is not waterproof. And I'm fighting my urges to just chuck this in the actual trash can. So we're gonna set that aside for right now. I finished painting them. Do I like them anymore? Maybe a little bit, maybe a little bit. Let me show you what they're looking like. So this one remained pretty much untouched. You can kind of see the little figures. I didn't hate this one. I basically just like increased the line around here. The paint markers definitely allow you to exert a little more control over this stuff, but a lot of the issues with this is just like it's my first time making air dry clay. This stuff is pretty uneven. I'm not really a sculptor or anything, or a potter, so there's a lot of inconsistencies in it, but yeah, I can live with that as like a little piece of Halloween decor for my home. I do think it made a significant difference on this one. I like it a little bit more now. I still think my tomatoes look a little wonky, but again, some of that is just like the unevenness of my own make. As you can see back here, I actually have like a food wall in my kitchen. It's just stuff that my partner and I have thrifted on our many, many thrift vacations. We always tend to stop at a thrift store on vacation just for fun. And I figured I'll put that up with the rest of them. I think that'll be a little fun to have one that I made. I think that the sardines look a lot better. They still don't look the way I envisioned them in my mind, but you know, that's okay. So I did kind of include some packaging on there. I think it looks a little less 4th of July, hopefully, but that's fine. This one was mostly just for fun, and that's where it will stay. And then finally, I did kind of zhuzh up all my little row counter pieces. I popped numbers on them, and I still think they look pretty bad, but the purpose of this is functionality, not so much aesthetics, although I would have loved for it to be very cute. So we are going to just move forward. I'm gonna let the paint pen settle a little bit because it was a little gooey, and then we'll glaze all these pieces and let them dry, and then we are finally ready to make our row counter. But first, a quick little jam interlude. It is officially time to glaze these puppies, so let's get them looking shiny. I'm hoping, I feel like shiny kind of makes everything look better, so here's hoping. Trusting the process right now. We are finally here. The very last stage of making this row counter. Boy, has it been a journey. But I have a bunch of jump rings and a pair of needle nose pliers, which is exciting. And I'm really hoping that these are big enough. I think they are. I think the absolute biggest one is going to have to be the one that we use to connect up these little pieces. But we will mess around with it a little bit and we'll figure it out. Don't know what that was. Still not totally sure. An object. If you know what it is, let me know. For anybody interested, yes, there was knitting this week as well, but I did not film it because honestly, I feel like every project that I'm at is at like the most boring stage in the entire world. Like the melting shirt, which I'll show you guys in this video, is literally at a stage where it's just like knit 96 rows of flat stockinette. That's what I'm doing right now, is knitting 96 rows of flat stockinette. So I don't really want to watch somebody knit 96 rows of stockinette flat. So I'm not going to subject you to that. With all that being said, I think I'm going to have some pretty fun big updates next week. So keep an eye out for that if you are only here for knitting content. Sorry if this is a little boring. And for full disclosure, I don't imagine that most of this channel is going to be non-knitting content, but I am a human being, so I do occasionally just get creative little whims like this, and I figure, why not put it on this channel? Maybe remind you that you also have free will, and you can just make something crazy and random in the middle of the week. So it's been really interesting to kind of slot this in to my workday and everything else that's going on in my life. It's interesting what happens when you start prioritizing art in your life. I've really honestly been enjoying it, and it's just kind of nice to remind myself that I do still have my evenings, you know, I do still have my weekends, and there is still time to do the things that you want to do if you prioritize them. Now, I am in a very privileged position. You know, I do not have any children. I have a partner, but he's pretty chill, and we like doing quiet things together, alone together. Big fan of that. But it has been really interesting to see what all I can get done if I just really prioritize making art. So the absolute biggest ones do seem to fit around the little row counter buttons I've made. I'm hoping that's going to be true for all of them. I figure what I'll do is I'll use the slightly smaller one. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I should do the biggest one, because I don't know about what needle size that would go through. That doesn't look like too much more than like a 4mm maybe. So actually I probably will do these ones, which look like they could probably accommodate like a 6mm needle, and generally I'm not doing much larger than that really at any point. So now I guess I just have to decide. I think what I want to do is put some smaller ones in between the actual buttons or beads, whatever you want to call them, and the hole where I would put my needles. So we're gonna try that. So far, it's not too tough to bend the jump rings out of place. So I am going to start on the process, and I'll check in when I get closer to something you could actually look at. It is officially done. I will put in some B-roll so that you can see it a little more clearly. It's quite long, as you can see, almost like necklace length, but I'm honestly pretty happy with it in its sort of full glory. I mean, it's rough and handmade, but that was sort of the intention. I would say putting on the jump rings took about an hour, and it is finicky, but it's not difficult. If you keep going at it, you kind of get into a flow with it. So like I mentioned, there are these rings in the middle, and these are intended for my needles. We'll take this on a little test ride here in just a second. And those rings, I really specifically did not open up. I opened up the rings on the side to connect them instead. And in my mind, that's just so that there's a little bit more integrity on those spots, because those are going to be the spots where the entire thing will kind of be hanging from, depending on where I'm at in my row. So again, I'll put in some footage so that you can see it a little more close up. But I actually really like the colors a lot more, and kind of seeing it all together makes it feel a lot more real, a lot less ugly. So let's take this on a test drive. If you look really closely, you'll see that there are a couple of silver jump rings in this because I ran out of the big size of the gold. And if you can find them, I'll give you a silver star. So in order to take the row counter for a spin, I have the Melting Shirt. This is the Melting Shirt by Gray Level Knitter. And like I mentioned, I have 96 rows of stockinette to do on this. Although, as you can see on the little chart that I have here, I am actually on row 19. So not from 0. And now obviously the row counter does not have 96 numbers on it, but I think the way that I'm going to do this is to effectively mark out each row of 10, because then on my paper, instead of having to cross out all 96 of those boxes, every time I do 10, I can move the row counter up. So when I get to row 20, I will move to number 2 to signify 20, and then I don't have to keep as close of an eye on it. We're gonna see if that works. If not, maybe this is not the exact project for this row counter, but I think if I keep it in sort of groups of 10, we can actually use it. I've done a couple of rows with it now, and I am currently on row 21. So what I actually think I'm gonna do, since I'm gonna put the project down for right now, is I'm going to knit a couple of stitches on this row. Like this will really give me some incentive to finish on a wrong side row, which I think is great. And then I will slip my row counter on, but I'll do it through the 2 space and then through the 1 space to indicate that I am on row 21. And then I will just knit a couple more stitches to seal it in, to secure it. So if you look here, you can see, kind of, 2 is upside down. So if you look here, you can see I'm in both the 2 and the 1. So when I pick this up, it should be super easy for me to remember that I am on the 21st row. It did not fall apart. I actually think it feels quite sturdy as far as each of the little pieces and the beads. It has some weight to it, so that makes me feel good. Like, I don't think that these jump rings are gonna rip through any of these beads or anything like that. And I'm becoming more and more fond of the way that it actually looks. So I'm gonna call it a tentative success. And with that, I'm gonna call this video completed. Thank you so much for following along on this crafty week. I feel tired, but also quite fulfilled. I also feel like, just sort of as an unintended consequence of doing this, I wasn't on my phone very much this week, and honestly, it feels really nice. So if you are interested in seeing more of me and or my art, I would really love it if you would consider subscribing. We are pretty close actually to 900, which feels absolutely wild. I would also love it if you would consider liking and commenting on the video. I love seeing everybody's comments, and I just really appreciate you being here. So with all of that, I hope you have a great day or a great evening or wherever you may be, and I'll see you in the next one.